So I decided to do my PowerPoint on the attack on women. The story I chose is The Ladies' Dressing Room. It's written by Jonathan Swift, and this is a controversial poem because the main character unwillingly goes through a woman's dressing room just to find her imperfections and find anything to shame her or to make her look bad. Some people see this as a way to describe the imperfections of women, while others see it as a way to attack women and criticize them for the things they do behind closed doors. I have 3 supporting points. My first one would be descriptive negative details regarding the ladies' dressing room. The second would be the importance of perfection of women in the 18th century. And lastly would be how Lady Meriwether Montagu used her poem to mock Swift and his attack on women's imperfections. So what I did with descriptive negative details, I just went through and I found some sentences from the poem where he went into deep detail about the things he found in her room to shame her and make her look bad. And I'm not going to read this word for word, but I will point out the many adjectives and the many important things he had said to make things stick out. As he said in this one, a dirty smock. He's talking about how she has stuff beneath her armpits and her clothes, and how he just turned it around to every side, just really checking it out to add emphasis on how dirty it was. The second one will be from page 20 to 26. He talks about her various uses for her combs, how she used the combs for multiple things, and how this filled up with dirt. And he goes into detail about how her brushes have sweat, dandruff, powder, lead, and stuff like that, and how her forehead cloth was filled with oil, whereas most people wouldn't even look at things like that. Most people would just overlook that, but he's going so into detail about this stuff because he really has something against this woman and really wants her to look bad. The next one would be how this one says, no object Strephon's eyes escapes. So like he's seeing everything, every little detail, anything that he can go past and find, he's finding something wrong with it. He talks about how she has clothes everywhere, how her handkerchiefs are filled with snot and snuff, how she's wearing the same stockings over and over, and just pointing out her imperfections to continue to make her look bad. And lastly, this one is just talking about how her washes is filled with paste, how her room is sloppy, and she has ointments everywhere for stuff that she has going on. So the next supporting point would be the perfection of women in the 18th century. Women in the 18th century are supposed to be neat and proper at all times, even behind closed doors. And I feel like that's a problem because everybody knows that nobody's perfect, and people have things that they do behind closed doors that are behind closed doors for a reason. And I feel like he just really went too far with this because he went in her dressing room unknowingly, and I feel like if she would have known, that she probably would have cleaned up or she would have had some stuff straightened up. But instead, he went behind her back to purposely shame her. The effects that different cultures and centuries have on the expectation of women makes things difficult. Even though Celia is expected to be the same in public as she is in private, Strephon is still attacking her personal space. So as I said, he went behind her back to do this. It's her personal space. She was not expecting it, so she didn't have to clean up or anything. And I feel like that's why he attacked Celia, because the way people looked at women in the 18th century, that they're supposed to be perfect and they don't see their imperfections, that's why he attacked Celia, because he know that would really get under people's skin. Lastly is Lady Meriwether Montagu. She used her poem to confront Swift about his hateful attack on women, where Campbell went into many details about how Lady Mary traveled around just to learn about the different cultures. So she went from place to place to see how other people did things, to support her own poem and support the details that she threw out there. And I feel like that's important because she really went her way to prove a point, and she went out her way to prove that that nobody is perfect. She blamed Swift for his hurtful words, but then explained in her poem why he said them. Lady Mary defended Celia from Swift's attack by providing an account of why Swift wrote his poem, imagining that he turned against Celia out of frustration at his own impotence and reluctance to pay her money for sexual acts as he could not perform. So basically, she put the truth out there and put it out there how he just went behind her back to do all this because of his own spite. He's just being spiteful and he wants to get back at Celia. So he did this. He went this route just to get back at her. It had to be due to the embarrassment of what she said was why the encounter even happened. So in conclusion, Swift used his poem to attack women. He uses very descriptive details just so he is capable of getting his point across about Celia. I feel like he went above and beyond, talking about how her clothes had armpit stains, how her brushes were dirty, and how she had ointments. And so he really spent his time to go through and to try to shame her. But while Swift is attacking women, I also feel like the 18th century is to blame because they don't recognize that nobody is perfect, and they don't recognize that everybody has their imperfections and everybody has things they do behind closed doors. But as I said before, it's behind closed doors for a reason. And lastly, Lady Mary Worthy Montagu decided to attack back towards Swift, which could have possibly changed the minds of readers who were on Swift's side. So basically, she attacked back just to not only take up for Celia, but to take up for all women, but also to take up for all women in stating that, once again, nobody's perfect and everyone has their imperfections.